Hello, I'm Eve.
Oh, and I'm Annie.
Annie, when and where were you born?
I was born in Elmshorn. That's about 25 miles north of Hamburg on the way to Denmark in 1926.
What were the 1920s in Germany like for you?
I can't tell you much, only what my mother told me. Of course, there were the inflation, which was a bad time. And I was only a little girl then, but she would tell me. So, I can only remember things from 1933.
Can you tell me about your family?
My mother, of course, was looking after us. My father was a stonemason, and he built houses in Hamburg, the facade at the front in marble. So that's what my father did.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
I've got one sister alive still today, and I've got two brothers.
Why was 1933 important for you?
Things seemed to change in 1933. Hitler showed his power straight away, and he ordered us about, and we had to do this and that, always to the Nazis' liking.
How did your father react when Hitler came to power?
Was very much annoyed, my father, So were his friends, and somehow they must have got together, sort of an underground movement, and see what they could do to talk people over, not to be Nazis.
How did that affect you?
I only spoke to people who I really knew were for my father. But all the others I kept quiet, never said anything. Father always said, don't tell him anything what's happening.
Did life become dangerous for your father?
Very much so. We were persecuted everywhere. They would come at night and take my father into their headquarters. They would hit him with the bicycle chain. He still had the scars forever, because he wouldn't tell them what they wanted to know. And he always came to our home, ransacking it, looking for guns or any paper, but we hadn't got anything. So that's the way they were, chasing us all the time.
What happened to your family in 1934?
That's when my father was arrested. They always came at night, never in the daytime, always at night. Only my father had hidden us above the kitchen ceiling on the top of the house there. He made a bed up for us, and they didn't know that. And we were always there, but we heard them downstairs. They took him away. And then a few days later they came and took my mother away.
Where did they take them?
They were taken to our local police station. They were questioned, they were hit if they wouldn't answer or wouldn't give them the right answer. And they were in there for quite some time. And then they were taken to Hamburg, to the concentration camp there, in Hamburg.
With your parents gone, what happened to you?
My father had gone, and a few days later they came for my mother. All my mother did was take in the money for the underground movement. They came again in the middle of the night, and they put us in a home. That's where we were all the time, in the home.
How were you treated in the home?
Well, quite good. It was painful as well not to be with mother, and the way what they've done to us already, always frightened what will happen again. And we were treated the Nazi way, singing songs here, there, everywhere, Nazi songs. They taught us already. In the home where we were, my mother's brother was a male nurse there, so we always used to tell him, I don't think they really did treat us too bad because of it. It was a home also for children who lost their parents and hadn't got anybody, you know. So that's who we were all together up there. All had the same dresses on. So when you went outside, everybody knew where you came from.
What was your school like at that point?
It was very, very nice, my school. I loved it. Very, very much. Loved all my teachers. You know, nobody let me know that my parents were taken from us and that they were away. No, they were all nice, just teaching us.
How did your lessons change?
The lessons changed immediately. We had to forget our German handwriting to write German. We had to write in Latin. Everything, and in the morning before the school started, we had to stand up and greet Hitler. Coming along the road, you couldn't say good morning, you had to always say, "Hi Hitler." So everything's changed, you know, and the teachers very often came in a Nazi uniform. You know.
What were your teachers like?
Our teachers were very nice. They treated me good. I enjoyed school. So, no, I liked school very much. And the teachers were extremely nice. The head teacher was a proper Nazi, but he also had other ways. I don't know whether he knew, of course, that my parents were away, taken away, but he was good to me. He could have picked anybody out of the schoolyard in the break. No, he always picked on me, and I had to go to his bank and get him more money, and then he sent me to different bills he owed in town, not the wine shop. So, no, and also children were sometimes sent away, holiday, when they were needed to, going away because needed feeding up. You were poor from poor families. And he picked me as well. And when I got to the place where they had taken us outside Hamburg, the ladies, I could hear them saying, "But what she come for? She doesn't look starving." And I used to think, well, why are they saying that, you know? But that was my headmaster. He wanted me to go away. Later on years, I asked him why. He says, "I knew you had to come away from the home." That's what he did it for.
Did you have any contact with your parents at this time?
After had taken, my father was already gone, but after they'd taken my mother, they let her come home for a few days to see us. And it said the nurses in the home said, "Wave your mother goodbye." I said, "No, I don't want to." And I was crying and crying. Couldn't understand it why they took my mother away. So kind and nice person she was. Took her away. She was away nearly 2 years. Not in a concentration camp, was more or less like a prison, because my parents saw another 200 people in our hometown. They had a trial and they were sentenced to whatever they thought they had done. Being in the movement that was wrong, and they got sentenced.
When was your mother released?
My mother was released after nearly 2 years. She came home. We hadn't got her home because they cleared everything out, our furniture, everything, and they put it in some kind of a barn, farmhouse, and there the dampness and it rotted, a lot of it rotted away. But my mother came from a nice family home. They all put together, and we soon had a nice home again.
What happened to your father?
Was also, of course, sentenced, and his sentence wasn't over yet, but they let him out earlier. He had a bit of a kind heart, and he came home because we sent him a telegram. My sister got killed on a railway line. The man forgot to close the level crossing, And the police told us she's in hospital. She's not hurt very badly. She was already dead. My mother said, well, if she's not hurt bad, she would have come home. So my mother sent my eldest brother, an uncle from the home. He went over and got uncle. And yes, she had already died. But my father came home the next day. That was wonderful.
Did your father find work again?
That wasn't difficult because our home, Elmshorn, is only a small town, and they knew him, and Dad was a stonemason, and he went back to the old firm.
How were the Jews treated at this time?
We knew from very early on, 1935, there was something going. They didn't like Jewish people. They put on their shops the Jewish sign and told us not to go shopping there. And I had to go past the synagogue every day to school. This one morning, the road was closed. Being a nosy little girl, we went round the back and come right at the side of the burning synagogue. And on the other side of the road was a rabbi and his wife still in the night clothes, surrounded by the Nazis, and I had to watch the synagogue burning down. I could still cry today when I remember it and see it burning, you know. When I got home from school, and Mother had also found out, said, they will be punished for that, to do that what they did. We never heard or seen anything of the rabbi. There was another Jewish family. We played with their children outside their garden in Parkland there where they lived. The Hirsch, Mr. and Mrs. Hirsch, they went to America just before it went too bad.
Were there any Jewish shops in town?
We had quite a few Jewish shops. Leather shops, stationery shops, and clothes shops. Very nice people. But outside the window they put the big Jewish sign, and we were told not to go and shop there.
Did you know war was going to begin?
Not really, but Mother told us that something's going to happen. What is it? The troops are going like mad through Elmshorn. Where are they going to? You know, something is going to happen. You know, we were nervous and frightened, but nobody told us because our radio only ever told us lies, you know. Lies. The Nazis only lied to the people.
But when war was declared?
Of course, I remember it well. It gives you a pain, what's happening, you know, why, what for. So it was on a Sunday morning, sitting at the breakfast table, and Mother said, that's going to start then now, but they will be finished. They will not win to what they've done to all us and all the other people in the camps. What my mother said to us, you know.
How did your family react to the start of the war?
They were, of course, come back from concentration camp. They had to be careful not to say anything and keep quiet. But we wondered what was going to happen till he started marching into Austria and all the other countries. So then we knew what they were after. It was frightening.
How did your life change because of the war?
Our life changed a lot when the war started. All we were ever told is work, work. That's going to win the war. You have to work hard.
What work did you have to do?
We were sent to factories where they conserved food for the soldiers, and we had to sit all day and peel peas or when the strawberries came in, you know, we had to do all that kind of thing, and they were put into tins for the troops. All through the holidays, start in the morning till it was time to go home again at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Just work. Another year, I had to go and repair uniforms in a sewing place. Another year I had to go and work in the country, picking weeds, just weeds, in a farm or whatever it was, in the nursery. Just work, always work.
What about your father and mother during the war years?
We were happy to have father at home to take care of us. Father had his job to do, and he kept quiet. He had to, because otherwise they would have locked him up again. If we were found out to listen to another station, they would have taken him back again. So these were all we had, cards on our radio, not to listen to a foreign station, because we would hear the truth. My father said, go outside. If anybody comes near the house, run in and tell me, because he was listening to England during his lunch hour. My father adored Winston Churchill. And we always found out the truth, what came over from England. German radio said, oh, nothing happened very much. They didn't bomb this or that in Hamburg. No, it was okay, but they did. Father would look out for them when they come back from work, and they told us exactly what was hit and hurt. And it was always the truth, what England said, not what the Germans said. We were always only told lies.
Was your town bombed during the war?
Yes, our town was bombed because it was in 1943. They came night after night to Hamburg. But this one night there was a thunderstorm. So they didn't go into Hamburg, come round, and they let the bombs go over my hometown, but it was always on the east side, and we lived in the west, so we weren't hurt in any kind, but they did quite a bit of damage. Mother used to say, well, that's going to end the war, let them do it now. They're doing it to them, meaning the Nazis, what they've done to us. Mother would always say things like that. See?
Were there shortages?
Of course, we got also ration cards. We got so much. Wasn't much, but we had to just manage. But then lots of people in Elmshorn had their own little gardens at the back of the house, though they grew everything in the way of vegetable. But fat and things and butter didn't exist. That was short, so we went to the meat factories where they conserved those tins for the troops, and they were boiled there. And we went and stood all night for a bucket of water, and on the top was the fat. We took it home, let it cool down, and then that was the fat. We could at least use that for cooking. There was always a way, somehow, you know. But until I came to England, I had never ate sultanas or dried fruit. I'd never known what it was. I'd never seen it. And to this day, I love Christmas cakes.
Did you know how the Nazis were treating the Jews?
Of course we knew. They did forbid us to go to their shops. That was bad enough. We knew they didn't want them in the town. Our rabbi had disappeared. So many things. We did know that they were trying to get rid of the Jewish people, but we didn't know about Auschwitz in those places. We didn't know. They kept those very far away and quiet. We would sometimes find out if a soldier was duty-bound to work there on the camps. They came home on leave, and they would then tell maybe my father or the grown-ups, you know. But once as a little child, our little girl, we were round the back, there were some men standing talking about when this gentleman come back from the camps, and we heard what they were doing, you know, and I went back to my mother. I said, Mr. So-and-so is talking about where he worked in these concentration camps. Mother said, yes, that's exactly probably what happened there. Took hand grenade and threw it in the crowds. I heard them talking.
Can you tell me about the end of the war?
End of the war was 8th of May, was wonderful. We had already heard on the radio that the troops were advancing. I mean, they were coming to Hamburg, and Dad said, won't be long, they're coming to our hometown. Then we heard that the tanks were going to come in Pinneberg, and then they were coming to us through our town. Dad says, go in the garden and pick all the flowers you want to pick, and go to the main road and wave to the troops, to the tanks, as they were driving through. It was a wonderful time that the day they finished. And we took all the Nazi flags down, and the Nazis themselves, they hid themselves away. They didn't come outside.
Were you pleased it was the British that came to your town?
The British troops, it was the 8th Army, the desert rats who came from Africa and then right through Italy, and then on to Germany. We were joyful, overjoyed that the war now was won by England. We were so happy to what the Nazis did to us. So that was it. We enjoyed them being with us. They were always nice. But the Americans were down the south of Germany, and we had reports from there. They weren't very good. And on the other side of Germany were the Russians. They were even worse. They didn't know what a toilet was for. They were going to wash themselves in the toilet. Things like that we heard then, you know. Well, they were very primitive.
How did your life change after the war?
It was just wonderful to know that you could sleep again. It was absolutely marvelous. It took some weeks, then we got a bit more food. Then, of course, in 48, the money changed, you know. So life then went on, sort of the normal, just working.
What happened to your mother and father?
Of course, after the war, Dad off to work, always just work, come home and see to our garden work so that we would have food again, or go in the country. We lived right outside. We would go and pick mushrooms, anything to eat, bilberries, anything to eat, so preserve for the winter. Then I had to bottle it, because my mother died in 1946, so then all we ever thought of getting food in for the winter. So picking fruit, potatoes on farmland, you know, and then they would give us a sack, and we would also put them in our cellar for the winter, everything for the winter. And I remember when I wanted to come to England to America, because my mother had died, and Uncle said, come over here, and it won't be so painful. And I couldn't get a visa. I saw advert, come to England, work in a hospital. Oh, I thought, I don't like blood, but... And I didn't work in a hospital. A doctor took me and I worked in his surgery. Because that's what I did in Germany as well for a couple of years. Worked at the Ministry of Health in the administration office. So then I came over to England because America didn't give me that visa, so I came here. It was lovely. I've loved England ever since.
Thank you, I've really enjoyed talking to you.
It was nice talking to you too. There's so much more to tell you, which I think you should know all about to get the understanding of this awful war. All because of that madman Hitler. He was mad.